So hi, hello and welcome again. Well, today's topic, the classification and the naming of organisms, large and huge topic. Yeah, but let's start out simple. What's the name of this living thing here? Well, of course, it's not a picture. It's only a drawing, but yeah, what is it? Well, you're going to say, looks kind of like a mouse, really, right? So that's the thing. We got to give it a name. So I decided, or people in the past decided, let's call it house mouse. Okay. So this is the name that I'm giving it. Yeah, but there is a problem. You see, house mouse. What language is that? That's in English, right? The thing with living things is that living things, they need a scientific name. Otherwise, scientists have a problem talking about the living things. And house mouse is English. And you know what? What happens if there are certain animals in one country which are not there in another country? So there is possibly no name for that animal in a certain language. But we still need to give it a name. The scientists still need to talk about the animals and plants. Yeah, and all living things. Yeah, so that's basically the topic today. Is we got to give it some kind of a scientific name, and this name should be international, so that all of the biologists and all of the people who talk about it, they talk about the same animals. And house mouse, honestly, that is English. Okay, and yeah, other people might not understand it, so we need a common system. And I would like to start out today's video with slightly differently, with by showing you not only a black house mouse, but also over here a white one. Okay. Yeah, this one is a little bit larger than the other one, but they should be the same size. That's not the issue. And look what's chasing the house mice. This here is a sheep. Okay. And, of course, you have already guessed, there's another sheep over here, a black sheep. Okay. So we've got two mice over here and two sheep. Of course, we can give it a name, sheep, but that's not the point right now. The task that I have now is the following: is categorized and classified and group them. Classification means grouping. And how are we going to group those four animals here? How are we going to group them? Well, you know what I'm saying? It's quite cool. I'm going to group those two together because they're black, and the white. Yeah, and those two together because they're white. So that's one category, and that's the other category. And that's the way that I'm classifying them, because, yeah, this one, they're black and they're white. So I'm classifying them according to color. Okay. So now we can invent a name for those, and we can invent a name for those. That's what I say. Okay. Go ahead. I don't know. Yeah. You can invent any name for this group of animals here. You're going to say, no, of course, oh, no, this is not right. You cannot just put a mouse and a sheep together here and here. And I say, why not? They're both black and they're both white. Oh, of course I can put them together. Who says who says that I'm not allowed to do that? Yeah, but that's not correct. A mouse is not a sheep. Yeah. So other people are going to say, actually, what you have to do is you have to put the two mice together and the two sheep together. Let's forget about the color. And I say, why? Why should we forget about the color? And then the argument is because, well, those mice, they have more characteristics in common. For example, they're both small. They both have a long tail. They have very sharp teeth. Okay. And those sheep, they have a lot of things together the same. They have a stumpy tail. Yeah. They have a lot of wool. They're much larger. And I say, okay, fine. The size is important for you. The length of the tail is important for you. You might as well just, then say color is more important. Well, generally, what scientists do is when you group organisms together, you do not only look at one characteristic alone, like color or the length of the tail, but you have to look at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different characteristics. And overall, those mice share many similarities, and those sheep share many similarities as well, besides color. And so this is when you group animals, or when scientists group animals, you look at similarity, but you have to be careful that you do not only look at one individual characteristic or a few characteristics, but you have to look at all of this. And this is a very important concept here that I've summarized over here. Organisms can be classified or grouped together by similar features. Yeah, and look, it's plural. Similar features means there have to be many features and not just one feature like color, or whether it's furry, or whether it has a long tail or size. You can look at many of them. Okay. And then once we've grouped them together, like this, Then we're able to give it a name, and then we're going to say, okay, this one here, these are the mice. Okay, so we're the house mice. Here it is. Yeah, the mice are over here, and the sheep are over here. Okay, so we've got two groups here. Okay, yeah, but then scientists very soon realized something, and they realized, well, honestly, there are many different mice out there, and there are many different sheep out there. Yeah. And so what they realized then is the following. Well, actually, there have to be more names. Then we cannot just call it a mouse. There have to be more names, and there are also more different types of sheep out there. So what a second important thing is now the following is that when you have two animals over here, and you know that for sure that they belong together, even if they look different otherwise, okay? If they're able to do one thing, okay, and that's really important. Yeah, they belong to the same group if they're able to produce babies together. So here we've got a white mouse with black spots, okay? If they're able to do that, then they belong into the same group. That's a really important concept in biology, where you have to ask yourself are the animals able to reproduce with each other? And the sheep are able to do the same thing, those here, okay? Let me move this out of the way a little bit over here. Yeah, you've got over here those two sheep, and they're able to reproduce. And look what we got here. Again, a baby sheep, a white baby sheep with black dots. Yeah, and then we know that this is one group of animals. And because scientists, they don't like to say group of animals, they have invented a name for that. They call it species. Okay, so it's really important. Okay, species. So let's move it here. So a species are organisms, so basically living things that are able to reproduce. They are able to have babies, and their offspring, so the babies, are also able to reproduce. Okay. So this means that sooner or later, those baby mice, they're going to grow large, they're going to become mature and adults, and they're able to produce babies. So you see that a species is able to maintain itself into the future. And that's a very important concept in biology. Yeah? And this is what it means, organisms that are able to produce fertile offspring. So those babies over here, those baby mice, when they grow up, they will be fertile, and they also are able to produce babies. And you look, a mouse and a sheep, they are not able to reproduce with each other, obviously. Yeah. And for this reason, they belong to separate species. Yeah. It's a very important, the species concept is a very important concept in biology. And I want to give you now another example over here. And we're going to put mice and sheep away right now. I'm going to show you a real picture over here. So this is a photograph, yeah. And what you have over here is you have a donkey, yeah. And down here you have a horse, and they share, of course, many similarities. But donkeys are not horses. You know, they make different sounds. I'm not gonna play donkey now. Well, actually, I could. That's how the sound the donkeys make, and horses they make. Yeah, so they even talk a different language. Huh? So that is basically, even though they share many similarities, donkeys are a little bit smaller than some of the horses. Yeah, they're also small horses. But the question that I now have is, do they not belong to the same species or not? Well, yeah. Donkeys and horses. Well, you already have a hint here. Donkeys and horses. There are already two different names here. So maybe we already know that they belong to two different species, because that's why we've got two different names here. But let's check it. Are donkeys and horses able to have babies together? That's the question, right? Are they able to produce offspring? And you know what? Sure they are. That's a mule. Okay. If you have a male donkey and a female horse, you're going to get a mule. So yeah, they're able to produce. They're able to produce offspring. They're able to produce like children, babies, yeah, and we call them a mule. But if this is the case, why are there then two? Why are there two different names, donkeys and horses? Well, because those mules are not fertile. You cannot take two mules and then cross them and then have another baby mule. It doesn't work. It stops there. Okay, a mule is not fertile. So if you want to get another mule, you got to start again with a donkey and a horse. You cannot take two mules. And that is the reason why donkeys and horses belong to two different species. Yeah, there are two different categories. Yeah, so they only fulfill half of the criteria. They are able to produce offspring, but they're not able to maintain themselves into the future. Yeah, it stops with a mule. Okay, that's the reason why donkeys and horses, even though they're able to produce offspring, are not the same species. Okay, so that is a very important concept, because once we understand what a species is, then we can start giving them a name. And I also might want to add, I only talked about animals up to this point, but the same concept applies also to plants, of course, and also microorganisms and so on. Well, with microorganisms, it might be a little bit more difficult. With bacteria, for example, it might be a little bit more difficult, because bacteria, they multiply, they reproduce by dividing. Yeah, they don't mate in the classical sense. Yeah, so that's a different topic, but we're just going to focus now on those mammals here right now. Okay, so that is a very important concept here. So let me put the mice and the sheep and the donkeys and the horses and the mules, let's put all of these away now, and let's clear the desk, and let's talk a little bit about the naming of organisms. And look, I'm going to now show you a name that you probably have already seen before. Equus africanus. What is it? What is that? Well, as a matter of fact, that is the donkey that I just talked about. Okay, so where did I put it? Do you see I put it away? And no, that's the mule. That's the wrong way. Yeah, this one here. Yeah, it's a donkey. And as a matter of fact, I've got another picture over here. That's the one over here. That's it. Okay, it's the African wild donkey. It's called Equus africanus, and this is the scientific name, and I'd like to talk about the scientific name right now over here. So I've got one over here. I've got a whole bunch of pieces of paper prepared, flying all over the place. Here they are. Look, Felis catus. What could that be? It's a cat. Yeah, and look, Equus ferus. That's the horse. Okay, so we got the horse, the donkey, and a cat. And there's one thing that you realize already, that there are always two names here. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, and that is these are the scientific names. And there are a couple of things here that I need to say here. Let's talk about the cat here. Okay, the first part here, the Felis part. Okay, that is known as the genus name, Okay, and but the genus alone, Felis, it's not enough. Okay, let me put it here. It's flying around, and the cat, has the species name Felis catus. So both together, the first part and the second part together, this gives you the name of the species. In Felis catus, that is the domestic cat. That's the house cat that many of us have running around at home. It's called Felis catus. Yeah? And the same is the case also, for example, over here with the African wild donkey. Yeah, you've got over here the genus name, and then you've got both of them together make up the species name. And the horse, it also belongs to the same genus, Equus. Okay, so you know that organisms that have the same genus names, they share many similarities, and if they have the same species name, then they share even more similarities. Then they're even able to reproduce together. Yeah. So this is a very important concept here, and when you look at the word, the way it's written, there are a couple of important things that you really must remember. Look, the first one, the genus name, in this case Equus, is always capitalized. You have to do that. That's really important, okay? There has to be a capital letter in the genus name. And the second name over here must always be in lowercase. Yeah, that is an international standard that you have to stick to, okay? And that's not it. Is there anything else that you realized? Look at the way it's written. Do you see that it's actually slanted? Yeah, it's written in italics. Italics means that it is slanted. Yeah, and when you write scientific names, when you write them by hand, then you're not going to slant them. You're just going to write them normally, but then you have to underline them. So even that is an international standard. Okay, so make sure that there's a capital letter here, a lowercase letter over here, and then it's written also in italics. Yeah, and I think it's pretty funny because sometimes when you visit a zoo, for example, and then they include the scientific names, I've seen already some zoos where they've written it totally wrong. They've capitalized the second word here as well, and then you know that the person who typed it didn't know his or her biology quite well. So yeah, forget about it. But you often see it actually mistyped, where the second letter here is capitalized as well. It's not correct, strictly speaking. Okay, so when you do a little bit of online research, it might be a little bit confusing to you, because sometimes you see something like this here. What? 2 names or 3 names? Canis lupus domesticus. Okay, that's an interesting one. Yeah, the first part here, again, that is our genus name. Yeah, the second part here, the first 2, that's the species name. So the species is still Canis lupus. That, by the way, that's the wolf. Okay, Canis lupus is a wolf. But there is a domesticus included over here as a third one. And that's kind of strange. What is this here? Well, this is known as the subspecies. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, Canis lupus domesticus is the domestic dog, just a normal dog. Okay, the dog that we have also running around at home it comes from the wolf originally. Yeah, so Canis lupus domesticus is the dog, and just Canis lupus is the wolf. So you see that actually the dogs, the domestic dogs that we have, actually biologically are wolves. Yeah, they just have been bred by humans, to be friendly and so that you can keep them at home. Yeah, I'm just including this here so that you're not confused in case you see sometimes a third name here. Just ignore it and look at the first 2, because that is the important part here. Okay, because that's the species name. Yeah, so very important. You cannot not have a species alone. This doesn't, or this second part alone. Yeah, this doesn't exist. Lupus does not exist. Okay, or Ferus does not exist. Okay, yeah. So this is something that I really need to say here. Yeah, and let's go a little bit again to the mouse and the sheep that I had over here. So here they are. Okay. Of course we have then also a scientific name over here. It's Mus musculus, and the sheep also has a scientific name. It's called Ovis aries. Yeah, so that's the house mouse, and that's the domestic sheep. You see the same system. Yeah. Genus name, species name, capitalized, lowercase, italics. Same here. Okay? International standard. So let's move on a little bit. Yeah. I want to show you a picture here. Where is he? I'm looking for him. And here he is. Look at this guy here. Yeah. He has to be mentioned as well. So let's put this away. Yeah. Look at this guy. What animal is this? Yeah, the name of this animal is called Homo sapiens. Yeah, it's a human being. Yeah, and Homo sapiens. By the way, this gentleman over here was the person who invented this naming system. It's called the Binomial System, and he invented the system of 2 names. Yeah, back in the 1700s, and Carl Linné, or the long way of Carl Linné, that's his short way of writing it, and Linnaeus, that is the long way of writing his name. He was a very important scientist of his time, and he was a little bit upset because there was no system in naming the living things. It was chaos. People just named them all over the place, yeah, and there was no clear system behind it. And he standardized the system, and he invented the binomial system. What does binomial mean? Binomial means 2 names. Bi means 2, and nomial means name. So the 2 named system. Yeah, and Carl Linné, just like I am a Homo sapiens. And let's look at this here a little bit. Let's try to make sense of what I've written here. Homo sapiens, we know that. Homo is the genus name. Sapiens alone means nothing. Homo sapiens together is the name of the species. Yeah, so far, that's so good. But what about H. sapiens? There's a period over here. Well, this is a short way of writing it, because when you're writing an essay or when you're writing a text, and the first time you have to spell out the name completely, and then from that point onwards, you can abbreviate the genus name, but only the genus name. Because sometimes, it can be quite long. Well, I don't have very long examples here. Yes, I have a very long example here. Look at this. I'm going to talk about it later. Yeah. Yeah, it's a very long, it's difficult to read, it's difficult to write. So the scientists said it's okay, you can abbreviate it. Yeah. And what about H. sapiens? Well, that again is the species, Homo sapiens, and this one over here, the second sapiens, that is the subspecies. And it's pure coincidence that it's a repetition here. Okay. It's pure coincidence. Over here, it's not repeated. Yeah? Canis lupus domesticus. So it's pure coincidence. Again, you can forget about the subspecies. Now you're going to say, well, are there any other subspecies? Yeah, but they're extinct. There is a Homo sapiens neanderthalensis. Okay, the Neanderthal person. Yeah, it's they found some bones a couple of hundred years ago, I think. Yeah, somewhere in a cave in Germany, and they said, okay, it's a Homo sapiens. It's still a human being, but it's a special subspecies. So they call it Homo sapiens neanderthalensis. Yeah, it's still a human being, but a little bit separate. Yeah, so and that is Homo sapiens sapiens. That's the modern human being. Yeah, so. Basically, who gives it those names? Well, if you discover a new animal, a new plant, any new organism, if you discovered it, then you have the possibility to propose a name. And of course, let's talk about, the mus musculus. If you discover another mouse, which is not a house mouse, then it's got to be called moose, but then you can call it you can invent the second part here. Yeah. That's basically up to you. Then you have to write a scientific report where you present the name and where you make your case why you want to name it like that, and then you've got invented a new name. Yeah, there's some interesting names out there. Yeah, that people invented. Yeah, so Carl Linné, he was the guy who basically has done that, and I would like to show you now a little bit. Where is this? Yeah, we talk about the Equus africanus here, and I want to show you this here. I've got two others here. Gyps africanus and, oh my gosh, can you read this? Phacochurus africanus. Africanus here, Africanus here, Africanus here. And the question that I'm asking now, are they the same species? Well, I told you no, because the species name has to include the genus name. So it's pure coincidence over here that they all are called Africanus. Yeah, and if you don't believe me, look. Yeah, this one Africanus is the warthog. Yeah, this one over here. Then over here, the gyps. Yeah, is it the white-backed vulture? It's a vulture. And then I have also here the donkey, the Equus, the African wild donkey. You also know this one already, yeah. So you see there are different species, obviously. Yeah? Donkey and a warthog and a vulture, yeah. But it's pure coincidence that they're all called Africanus. Well, why are they called Africanus? You know what? Because the people who invented the name decided to call it like that. Yeah? And maybe they live in Africa. Maybe that was the reason why they called it like that. Yeah. So you see, the name should kind of make a little bit sense as well. And in many cases, the basis of the name is either it comes from Latin or there's a Greek origin, but they have been Latinized because they said, okay, if we want to have an international way of naming the animals, then it should be also a little bit independent of language and culture, and we have to have a neutral way of naming them. And so they said, okay, we're going to use those Latinized names to name the animals. Yeah. So that is simply a clarification here, a little bit of what is a species and what is a genus. Okay. So yeah, what do I have over here? The binomial system. It's also very important. That's the Linné who invented this. The binomial system is an internationally agreed system of naming species. The name is made up of two parts. The first part is the genus name, and the first and the second part together make up the species name. Yeah? I know that in some books, what they are saying is the second part, that is the name of the species. No, you shouldn't say it like that, okay? You cannot say the species is Africanus. Yeah? This doesn't exist. Yeah? You have to use the genus name as well. Yeah? So, but it's sometimes not always properly explained. So, what am I gonna do here is, there's a little piece of paper that, over here, I'm gonna show you at the end. That's the mule thing, yeah? So I'm going to put it at the end again. So, what else do I have over here? I just want to show you, and also, over here, an African elephant, okay? And I just want to say, be a little bit careful when you write scientific names that sometimes Loxodonta africana, it's the African elephant, and here it's called Africanus. Just be careful that, spelling does matter. Okay, so clearly you have to be careful that you get everything correct. And sometimes the words might appear similar, but it's easy to make a mistake because those words are complicated. Yeah, so just be careful. Africana, Africanus, just make sure that you take care of your spelling. So what I would like to do now is the following. I'd like to go online, and I'm going to show you now something online. Let's do a little bit of online research here. And where is this? Here we go. Okay. I'm in Wikipedia, and I think Wikipedia is a really great source to do a little bit of online research. And later on, I'm going to give you also a little assignment as well. So here, I'm looking at the cat here. Okay. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit because it is a little bit too small. So cat, and here you already have Felis catus. It tells you over here the scientific name. Yeah, and when you scroll down, look, I want you to look here on the right side. This is the part that I'm going to talk about. We start off here with kingdom, and a cat belongs to the kingdom of Animalia. Animal, a cat is an animal. Who would have guessed? Yeah, and there is a subcategory called a phylum Chordata. These are all of the animals that have a spinal cord. Yeah? And then you have the class is mammalia. So a cat is a mammal. And so you can go from very generally go down all the way to very specific. It's the genus Felis. That's clear because the genus name is part of the name of the species. And the binomial name is Felis catus. And then you have the name of a person down here in 1758. Haha, yes, that's the guy who, yeah, you know him, right? Yeah, and that is the Carl Linné. He gave it the name. So in many cases, you can actually see the person's name written beneath the binomial name, and he is the one who invented the name and who gave it the name. Yeah, so that is basically the way that it looks like. You start off general over here, you go all the way down, and then you can find the binomial name here in Wikipedia. Yeah. Look, synonyms. What do synonyms mean? That means words that mean the same thing. A guy called Erxleben in 1777 called it Catus domesticus. Then in 1788, this person here called it Felis angorensis. And Fischer in 1828 called it Felis vulgaris. You see, there's so many people, they all gave the cat different names. So that's why Linnaeus, he said this cannot be. You cannot give a different name to the same animal. Everyone kept on inventing names because it's cool. You know, I discovered the cat and I'm going to give it now a name, you know. No, it's, he calls chaos this way. Yeah. So, and this, for this reason, Linnaeus, he said, we've got to standardize everything. And different people, started to then, sometimes give the same animal or the same plant a different name. So they're all listed down here. But let's check another one. I don't know. What about dog? Dog. Okay. Here's the dog. Okay. Look. Canis lupus familiaris. Yeah, that's what I showed you already before. Or you can say Canis familiaris, because the dog and the wolf, a small tiny dog like this, and the wolf, they're not able to reproduce with each other, right? The same here, we go, it's an animal, it's a chordate, it's a mammal, and then you have Canis familiaris, and again Linnaeus, again he basically gave it the name. So what about the scientific name for jellyfish? Jellyfish. What is the scientific name for jellyfish? So here we go, jellyfish. And when you go down, what's the species name? What's the scientific name for jellyfish? Kingdom, it's an animal. Jellyfish is an animal. Belongs to the cnidarians, to the medusozoans. Let's go down, and I don't see a species name here. Well, why is that? Well, the answer is quite simple, because there's so many different jellyfish species. It's too general. So I have to go down a little bit in more detail and look, there are certain groups included. So I'm going to click on the true jellyfish over here. Okay. And I'm connected to the next page. Okay. And we're becoming we're going to become more and more specific here, but still no species. Subgroups, see text. Okay. Okay, let's see the text. Anatomy of the jellyfish, reproduction of the jellyfish, taxonomy. Look here we go. Okay, there are a lot of families and suborders and families and orders. Okay, let's click on the first one, this one over here. And let's go down further. Atolla is a genus. We're pretty far down already. Okay. Atolla is a genus. Yeah, it's a genus Atolla. And look, here there are the species listed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 jellyfish species that belong to the genus Atolla. That's why they all are called Atolla. And one of them over here, is indeed, click. Yeah. Now we are down to a specific species, Atolla. Oh my gosh, you read it out, okay? Who gave it the name? Ernst Haeckel in year 1880, a very important zoologist and scientist. Okay, the reason why I wanted to show this to you is that sometimes when you type in the name of an animal, then or a plant, that sometimes you're not typing in the specific name of a species, but a very general name, and then you have to go in deeper and deeper and deeper, level down, one step by step, so that until you're able to reach a specific species. Okay. So this is kind of the thing that I wanted to show you. Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. How do you remember this order here? King Philip conquered over 50 German ships. That's a way of actually remembering it. Or better yet, keep pots clean or family gets sick. Okay, that's another way of how you can remember the sequence over here. Okay, King Philip came over for ginger snaps or ginger cookies. Yeah, so there are different ways of how you can remember it, but the important thing is you always start off general and then you go all the way down specific, all the way down to the species. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's summarize the most important points. Look at all of these things here. I gotta move everything away and clear up my desk a little bit here. So, what are some of the points to remember? Look here. I put everything here on the side here, the points to remember. And first of all, organisms can be classified or grouped together by similar features. That's what we've been doing. Okay. The more similar they are, the more detailed the group, and all the way down to the species level. That's the second part. Species are organisms that are able to reproduce, and the offspring is also able to reproduce. So they are able to produce fertile offspring, and the species is able to self-maintain itself into the future. And then I've given you an example of a mule, which is a cross between a donkey and a horse. And a mule is one of those examples where it's possible to have offspring, but they are not fertile. Yeah. And last but not least, almost finished. There is so-called the binomial system, is an internationally agreed system of naming species. The name is made up of 2 parts. The first part is the genus name, and the second part and the first part together, they make up the name of the species. And then I just want to show you something over here, something where I made a mistake. I'm going to show it to you. That's why I did not show it to you before, but maybe you're able to find the mistake. Okay. This is a skeleton of Tyrannosaurus Rex or T-Rex. It's extinct. It's an extinct dinosaur, but even they are given this binomial name, abbreviated T-Rex, and probably have already found the mistake. The mistake is it's capitalized over here. Yeah. Why is it capitalized? I have to tell you, it's the automatic spelling correction of the program that I used. It saw a period over here, and I thought, okay, after a period, you have to capitalize it. Yeah, and that's why it made a capital R over here, but that's wrong. Okay, so I overlooked it. Just maybe a nice example on how not to do it. Okay, so, and last but not least, I do have an assignment for you. To practice a little bit researching. Look, what I want you to do is the following: do some online research and find the scientific name, the binomial name of the most poisonous plant, the largest animal, and the smallest mammal. Now, you might get conflicting information because, maybe some people disagree a little bit what is the smallest mammal, but it doesn't matter. The point is that you do a little bit of research, and then you're able to find the binomial, the scientific name, and maybe if there's also an English name, then also include that. Okay, so you write down in your notebook the most poisonous plant is, and then you write the name of the scientific name of this plant. Okay, and then maybe you can also also include, if there is an English name, an English name. But you have to know that there are so many living things out there that, yeah, in many cases or in most cases, there is no English name. Yeah, because yeah, there are simply too many of them. So it's scientists are happy if there is a scientific name. Okay, so yes, that basically completes this lesson over here of classification and naming of organisms. I'm going to leave it at that. Do put the important points into your notebook as well. And yeah, for today, that's it. I wish you all the best and see you around next time. Bye-bye.